the way out.
Welcome to the Big Biz Show, featuring insight, analysis, and a lot of stuff that's none of your business.
Hold on. This is the Big Biz Show. I think it is their business.
Making the markets work for you. Here's the man with the plan, Sully.
Hey there, live from the Loft 100 studios in sunny San Diego, California. Big Biz Show's on there. Great to have you along. Got a big show for you today. Looking forward to talking to Mary about what she's been complaining about for years and years and years, and that's the impending college tuition. And you are on death's door.
It's knocking. It's knocking.
I mean, not death's door.
No, it's not death's door, but it's financial death door. Yeah. You know, it's intense.
Did I overhear you talking about groceries when I walked to the door?
Oh, that's the other thing. It's crazy.
It's almost as expensive as
groceries. And I got really used to Instacarting during COVID, and then I'm just a busy mom, so I'm like, Instacart. Yeah. And then I look at the line items, and I'm thinking, what the heck? I'm getting charged, but I also kind of sometimes don't care.
Question. Do you go to the grocery store?
I hate the
grocery store.
Seaside Market?
Yeah.
Great place.
Yeah.
If you ever
convenient.
Do you go to the grocery store?
Absolutely.
You go walk in?
Yep.
And were you anybody else Instacart or grocery store? Are you hands on?
Both.
Me too. I'm hands on.
I'm
hands on.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Unless Matt's over with his bunch of hooligans, and then it's an Instacart, because Bevmo Instacart.
Yeah, right.
You got to
squeeze the milk.
As long as you show your driver's license, they take a picture of it. I will argue over a 19-cent can of peas. Mm-hmm. Yet we'll go spend how much money at the Padre game? Betting,
right?
Like Mike talked about the other day. Betting a worthless money on worthless beer and bad peanuts.
Yep.
Actually, the peanuts at the Padre games are fantastic.
Yeah, they are.
You're not a peanut guy?
I'm a brat.
See, I'll sneak my chips in from home because I don't want to buy those.
Oh, that's a good
I'll
idea.
sneak the food in,
but then
I'll pay the $20 for Instacart.
But are you parsimonious about that type of stuff? Like, are you a label looker when you go to the grocery store?
I'm more now because everything is crazy expensive.
Give me an example.
But I don't.
Can I give you an example off grocery store?
Yeah.
Bought a breakfast burrito at your place.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic.
Mexico Viejo.
$11.
Yeah, right.
$10.90.
It's happening.
Right.
Now the thing was the size of my phone. I'm not kidding. The thing was from here to here.
It's big.
And you can save the rest for later.
Exactly right.
They don't practice shrinkflation.
Right.
No, they don't. By the way, it covered because I eat a third of the times. I hate feeling full.
Yep.
So that lasted me, breakfast and lunch. Mm-hmm. But the long story short is, if it's high there, and we're just accepting $10 burritos, then it's got to be what's the single biggest thing you buy at the grocery store?
Well, you know what? I buy a lot of LaCroix. We'd go through a ton of LaCroix, and I will.
That's the flavored one.
A lot of times it's on sale, so I will go around. Target will have 3 for $9 or whatever it is, and I will find those. I won't buy it when it's not on sale, and that's going to save me $2.
Is it a better deal than Costco's when they have they've got LaCroix all the time, right?
This is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I don't have a Costco card.
Why?
I don't do Costco.
That's okay.
I never did. In my
do you know why? Do you know why we are where we are in the world?
I lost it in
our world's here for me is because I worked at Costco. I worked at Price Club, employee number 24, which turned into Costco. Got stock options. Had no idea what they were. Bought my first house. Sold it. Bought the next one. Took some money. Started a business. Yeah. Honestly, that's what.
Price Club money.
Good old Saul Price.
Yeah. Wow.
We started a company called FedMart. If you want some cheese, James, we're going to what? Vaughn's. If you want to build a house out of cheese, you go to Costco. I mean,
that's my problem. Is I don't need all that
stuff. Right. I don't have a big family. It's just me.
But you say that obviously because everyone goes right to the 5-gallon thing of mustard. It's like, when am I going to use all this mustard?
Well, look at how cheap all this mustard is.
Yeah, that's what I
do. But there's other stuff at Costco where they just clean the clocks of grocery stores, Mayor.
Trey, what's the worst decision you've ever made at Costco?
Oh JMO? Probably a box of cereal.
Jim, do you go to Costco?
I do go to Costco.
I like Costco too, man.
Yeah.
I like just cruising through it. Now, I'm one of those guys at Costco that used to have the cart like this. Now, run through, there's like a Chiclets. I think it's Hertz or something like that.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Lots of stuff coming up today. We'll talk more to Mary about that. Also, a new CEO on a company that we revisited before. It's called the Mira Mike Costa College segment. Reshape Life Sciences. The folks who make lap bands will be this a little bit later.
Yep. They were saying my kids are going to go to Mike Costa College.
Good.
Smarty.
Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks. If we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullygroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
Welcome to the Big Biz Show, featuring insight, analysis, and a lot of stuff that's none of your business.
Hold on. This is the Big Biz Show. I think it is their business.
Making the markets work for you. Here's the man with the plan, Sully.
Hey, they're live from the Loft 100 Studios in sunny San Diego, California. Big Biz Show's on the air. I don't understand what the theme was of that disclaimer, but I'll take one of those every day. Of course, just for full disclosure, the girl with the ukulele is Chloe, one of our production techs here, and a guy with the pirate outfit on was getting blown in the wind. That's Devin. They're brother and sister,
Yeah.
so they're used to pushing each other around. I just want to make sure we have that. Good to see you guys today. Say hi to the Day Trader Trio. Boom. TTT. Got some good news. Our good friend Eric Dresselhuys from S Inc., of course, they are publicly traded under the stock symbol GWH, is back to tell us the story about long-term energy storage. And the long story short is iron flow batteries are a game changer in this world. And whether you're ready for the green economy or not, it's coming. And it is profitable. And these guys are a publicly traded company. So I thought we'd bring Eric back on a regular basis, kind of follow what they're doing. At the same time, do a reintroduction of long-term energy storage and where we are in the green economy. Straight from Oregon, Eric Dresselhuys. Eric, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
I'm well. Thanks for having me, Sully.
Good. Hey, I want to start off by having you explain, because we picked up some new affiliates with respect to Bloomberg. We picked up some new affiliates in other states. Talk about exactly what you guys do and why it's so important.
Yeah, well, what we do in a simple sense is that we take excess energy that's usually green, so wind or solar, and we store it so that we can have a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week resilient electricity system. You know, most people, when you ask them what they want out of electricity, they'd like the lights to come on when you flip the switch. And in a world where the ways that we generate electricity are more intermittent, you have to have some way to stabilize the system, and that's what we do.
Eric, if we don't start heading down this road now, before it's too late, because obviously you've got political pressure, you've got obviously pressure with respect to what's going on with Mother Earth, you're seeing more and more natural disasters. I'm not a big believer in global warming, but I'm a big believer in climate change. It happens over time. So, and I'm not being political about this at all, but it's kind of, we have to start doing this now, right, Eric? Otherwise, we're going to be in a little bit of trouble here in the next couple decades.
Well, I think we could be in a lot of trouble in some scenarios. Because it's not just about taking the electricity system we have and decarbonizing it. It also means, you know, if we look at, and this has been in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and most of the major media, demand for electricity keeps rising. Generative AI and electric vehicles and the electrification of buildings and industries. We're starting to use a lot more electricity than we've been using in the past. And so we have to find a way to make sure that the system stays stable, or we're going to have a real problem.
Eric, are we trying or going fast enough to try to make sure that the grid, the infrastructure for our grids in our cities and states are up to par for this?
Or at least have redundancy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, the short answer is we're going fast, but I don't think fast enough. We need to really pick up the pace, and there's a lot of people calling for that now. If you saw, the EPA today announced new rules on coal plants that's going to make it increasingly difficult to generate electricity from coal. And so if you look at all of the existing stuff that's got to get replaced, a lot of which is 50 years old or 35 years old, and then this growth, it's a massive build out that's got to happen.
Hey, Eric, talk about S-Inc. Talk about long duration storage and iron flow versus the status quo.
Yeah, so we're based here in Oregon, and just outside of Portland, Oregon. So it's an American company building American technology, and that's also one of the hot topics these days. Energy security is getting very closely aligned with national security, and where do we get the products that we build? Our product uses iron, salt, and water as the core of the electrolyte that lets us store electricity, and that's advantageous in a couple of three ways. First, it's relatively inexpensive. It's earth abundant, so you can get it anywhere, including all of the materials here in the U.S. And it happens to be inherently safe. So you don't have to worry about fires or having these things blow up. And lithium batteries, which is largely what people have used for energy storage these days, it doesn't have any of those things. It mostly comes from China. It tends to have safety issues when you do it at very, very large scale. And it doesn't last very long. Anybody with a cell phone has experienced what in the battery world we call capacity fade, which is, boy, my phone worked great for the first year or two, but then 3 years in, I got to charge it 10 times a day.
Yep. And Eric, how long can you store the energy?
Well, we're focused right now on the 8 to 12 hour kind of duration, and that's because when you team that up with solar and wind, you can get a 24-hour system. Technologically, you can go longer, and I think over time, we will want to go longer, but right now that seems to be the sweet spot.
What's so we talked about if we're moving fast enough, otherwise things are going to change in the next couple of decades. Where do you see this going in the next, let's say, short term, 10 years, and longer term, 20, 30 years?
Oh, well, the ramping is happening. All of the forecasts, and it's from, you can look at the Department of Energy or the Energy Information Administration. All the consultancies are following this space now. The growth rates are pretty substantial. We're seeing, hundreds of percent kind of growth that are happening. And then as we get towards the later part of this decade, so that's, 5 years, 6 years out in the world of infrastructure is kind of like tomorrow, then we think it'll really accelerate beyond that.
The I guess 800-pound gorilla in the room is transition, right? I mean, how do we go from where we are now to where, there's going to be sort of a bifurcation argument going for a while, but there's going to have to be some merging of technology before it goes one way or the other, or at least until we have a choice, correct?
Well, I think, listen, right now, I look at it as we don't have the luxury of being that picky of trying to, say there's one way we're going to do it, right?
Right.
We need kind of all hands on deck to make the transition happen. Energy underlies everything we do in our society, the health of people, how you live at home, how we build industries. And as we've been, a big part of the current administration, of course, has been reshoring manufacturing. That's terrific. It's great for American jobs and building American industries, but it all takes more energy. Yeah. And so, we're kind of something that underpins all of the other things we're talking about societally.
Eric, do we have the infrastructure to have this happen? I know it's a distant cousin of yours, but if you think about EVs and the fact that Tesla, for example, weighs as much as 2 cars, and you start thinking that we're all EV going down stuck in traffic on the Golden Gate Bridge after Mike had a large coffee this morning and a bran muffin, who's in big trouble. Long story short, what bothers me about EV type stuff is infrastructure. Talking about this, I know it's a distant cousin, but is the infrastructure in place, or is that what we're doing now?
Well, I think that's what we're doing now, and this actually helps solve some of the infrastructure problems. One of the things that energy storage allows you to do is to shift the times when you move electricity through the grid. So if you think about in San Diego, a lot of highways down there and a lot of 6-lane highways. Most of your average capacity utilization of a highway in San Diego is probably in the 20% range.
Right.
The problem is at 5 o'clock at night, when you're trying to get home after work, it's bumper to bumper traffic crawling along. And so you've got to find some way to kind of spread that load. And that's a big part of what energy storage can do.
Yeah, exactly. His name is Eric Dresselhuys. He's the CEO of S Inc., stock symbol GWH. Eric, one last question. Talk about the remainder of this year in so much as what you can talk about. What are you focusing on here for the next 6 months, 8 months?
Well, we've got a big backlog of customers, so it's all about execution and increasing the operational scaling of our company in all things energy renewable, in the energy renewable technology space. Driving costs out's a big thing, and so we spend a lot of time making the product more efficiently, taking costs out of the system, and that's where you really get the flywheel. The more you drive the cost out, the cheaper you can sell it to customers as you kind of expand your margins. That creates better value for the customers and makes more people want to buy.
His name is Eric Dresselhuys. He's the CEO of S Inc. They are publicly traded on the stock symbol GWH. Go to sinc.com. That's ESS Inc.com, as I just said. Eric, great to have you. Can't wait to get you in San Diego. Good to have you back. Eric Dresselhuys, folks. Coming up. I have no idea. Big stuff. But I know Mary is so happy about those kind of conversations.
From the Loft 100 studios in sunny Southern California, it is the Big Biz Show. Hope everyone's enjoying the holiday season. We certainly are. Costa, our executive producer, Greg Todorov, and Sully.
Good to have you along. 125 million TV homes strong. Let's not forget BizTV and American Life Network and Bloomberg, as well as Mike mentioned, American Forces Radio Network. Yeah, that's right. We're on TV and radio. 175 countries and all the ships at sea. We are everywhere. I wake up in the morning with emails saying, hey, loved your interview with Shane Schaffer. I had an interview with Shane Schaffer for like 2 weeks. Like, we are on the air somewhere every hour of every day.
I got a lot of Raider fans that said I did not enjoy the with Shane Schaffer. So,
Shane Schaffer, Chairman and CEO, Cingulate, on the air with us. CING, always enjoy having you. And we had a kind of a special day today because we've got kind of an all Cingulate all the time today because we've got your Chief Medical Officer going to join us in just a few minutes. Great to have you again. I want to talk again, just for the people that didn't catch you, because we picked up some new affiliates since the last time we talked to you. Once again, their stock symbol CING. You can go to cingulate.com. What was the genesis of this whole thing? Walk us through again.
So, it kind of goes back to, I'm a pharmacist by training, which would purely make me deadly at a CVS these days, but I started my career off at a little company called Marion Labs in Kansas City while I was still in pharmacy school. Went on to Pfizer, then Novartis and Sanofi. During that period of time, I got to know some of the top, really, psychiatrists in the world. And two of them became two of my best friends. So Dr. Raul Silva, who's our Chief Science Officer, Dr. Matt Brams, who's here with us today, is our Chief Medical Officer. The three of us are sitting around a barbecue over July 4th. And it could have been the perfect mixture of Coors Light and barbecue, who knows. But the two docs were lamenting the fact that, here we are 60 years, now 70 years into the treatment of ADHD. And there's still not a single ADHD medication that covers the huge unmet medical needs. And number one, that is a product that lasts the entire active day. From breakfast to dinner, from home to homework, from revelry to taps. Gets you through that active part of your day effectively. Not too much medication, not too little medication. You don't want booster doses. You want a fast onset of action. You don't want to have the ability to abuse or divert these medications. You want better safety and tolerability. Cingulate has accomplished all of this. And that's where we did it at. We started it at a barbecue on July 4th.
I've never asked this before. So when you were at Novartis, or what do they use pharmacy students and pharmacologists for there? Is it part of the assessment of new drugs, or?
It's funny. You'll find a pharmacist in every single role throughout the pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
So, you have pharmacists, predominantly you'll find them on the medical side. So medical liaisons, medical affairs, medical writing, clinical research, regulatory, the drug development side.
It's not just about filling strips.
Oh, no. And that's where, so most of your pharmacists that come out of school, they're going to CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, Duane Reade. Sure. That's where they're going. Another 20%, so let's call it 70% go there, 20% go to hospital, 9% take a career elsewhere, 1% go industry. I went industry. So it's not a predominant path, but there's a lot of pharmacists in the industry.
I'm going to let you talk about the precision time release, the PTR medication you guys are putting together. Before I do that, though, you mentioned something about abuse and about the fact that there isn't a medication that goes a full day. Because basically, it's almost like a pill in your pocket therapy right now, right? It's where you take it when you need it, where you try to take it and time it.
60% of patients today that are taking the so-called long-acting medications.
And this is Adderall, Ritalin, and
So think Adderall XR, Concerta, Focalin XR, and Vyvanse.
Okay.
Great product.
And those are supposed to be time-released sort of medications.
Yeah, they're supposed to be your long-acting, some are
long-acting.
time-released, but the fact is either they don't start fast enough, 3 of them don't start fast enough, 1 of them does, all 4 of them don't last long enough, all 4 of them need a booster dose. And that's really the problem is 60% of patients are currently taking a booster dose every day. That's where you reach in your pocket. If you're under the age of 18, it's a federal crime to have a controlled substance. You got to go to a nurse's office. You got to drop the car. You got to go to practice.
Wow.
You got after-school activities. Imagine this too. If you're 16 years old, you're driving a car, maybe in the Midwest, I don't know about California, but basically they're driving home and they're crashing on their ADHD medications. So it's not safe, it's not effective.
Right.
We can do better.
Okay, literally from barbecue. When you think about this, how many people probably have had that conversation? I wish we had blah, 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 and then it dies on the vine, they never even think about it. From barbecue to the pill you brought in to show us.
Yep.
What was the length of time before the light bulb went on in one of your heads and said, this is the way we attack it?
2.5 to 3 years.
That's pretty fast.
But we tried, Dr. Brams will join us at some, but we tried to take a delivery technology off the shelf. Typically, think of the capsules, you open it up, all the little beads fall out.
Yeah.
It would be bigger. Our tablet is the size of your pinky nail.
Right.
The capsule, to do what we want to do, would have to be the size of your full pinky.
Wow.
Make a better suppository than what a oral medication. The fact is, what we did is we built PTR from the ground up. And we're not only utilizing it now in ADHD, two products there, but also anxiety, insomnia, Parkinson's disorder, Alzheimer's, oral oncology agents. We have a platform of medications we'll be developing with.
Let's revisit the drug itself,
Yeah.
because this is pretty interesting, and I think we can probably pull up the graphics as you're talking about it. But talk about the 3-in-1 almost, I guess, is the way to talk. And this is the precision time release, the PTR technology. Talk about what it does and in what phases.
So what it gives us the ability to do is, for the first time in the history of the world, we can give this small little tablet, take 2, 3, 4 of the same or different medications. And in various layers you see here, like the second drug release, the first release, the third release, we can either put a combination of drugs or just one simple drug. So in our products for ADHD and anxiety, we use a single drug 3 times. Okay. And then now we can, for the first time within a 5-minute window, precisely determine when that drug is going to be introduced into the human body. We can taper that or change it for modify it for any different therapeutic disorder. Right. In cardiovascular disease, you need it one way. In ADHD, it has to be a very specific way. If it's Parkinson's or movement disorders or Alzheimer's, again, you need to modify the drug. This tablet has the ability to do it.
And the interesting part about this is you just said something. You could have multiple drugs or one drug. In this iteration, you have one drug. Is there a world where you could modify and perhaps do other technologies inside of that? I mean, I think you kind of let something on there, didn't you?
Absolutely. I mean, there's some pretty cool ways also to maybe put a ligand on see that third dose? Let's say it's not too well absorbed in the colon. Let's say we're waiting 12 hours to release it. Maybe we need to make some way for it to have higher motility or better absorption. There's ways to do that. Think proteins. There's future things that we could be doing. These are definitely forward-looking statements, but there are options for us to modify even the drug itself to really optimize therapy.
Is it stomach acid, or what inside of us? What determines how fast we're absorbing? Is it blood? How fast we're absorbing it?
So you have 4 things: absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. So not to get too scientific here.
Right.
Absorption.
We knew that.
Obviously.
Testing you. It's the name of my band.
I still remembered a few things from school. But basically, what we're talking about here from our platform is what helps us get the product absorbed from the GI tract.
Okay.
And what happens is you have a very acidic mouth and stomach.
Yeah.
So that's a very low pH.
After a couple of beers, Mike really does.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe a little more alkaline then. But as you move down the GI tract, it becomes very alkaline, very basic. So you have much more of a base mechanism. What's the beauty of the PTR platform and our erosion barrier layer? It's pH independent, it's fluid independent, it's food independent, and all you need is a heartbeat. And if you don't have a heartbeat, ADHD is the least of your worries.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
When we come back, we're going to bring on Dr. Matthew Brams, your Chief Medical Officer. But I want to talk about the arc of the story with respect to FDA.
Yep.
And then partnerships, and of course you've caught up a couple of things like anxiety. You brought up things like sleep. Like you're experiencing all these things at the same time.
I'm anxious because I can't sleep.
Shane Schaffer, Chairman and CEO. Cingulate, CING is their stock ticker. Cingulate, coming up, we're going to get the chief medical officer. We see if everything, I want to hear about the barbecue first of all. Don't you mind on the doctor? That's the first thing.
What were the sides?
Yeah, what were how bad did it, how long did it last? How bad was it?
Well, we did have a triple release.
Big Biz Show, back in a minute. Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks. If we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullygroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
Hey, is that a rescue plane?
It is the holiday season, however you celebrate it. Hope it's been a good one for you so far. We're having fun as usual inside the Loft 100 Studios. Big Biz Show rolling on. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, thank you for being along for the ride. Costa, Greg Todorov, our executive producer, and of course, Sully.
Let's not forget the Day Trader Trio. Wow, that was...
Yep.
I'm not getting paid this week.
Whoa.
Really? Is that the best you can do? Can you give us a little blam? Just give us a little blam just to make up for it.
Yeah.
They get paid now.
There we go.
Shane Schaffer, Chairman and CEO of Cingulate, is joining us today on the Big Biz Show. CING is their ticker. And you and I have been talking off air about Dr. Matthew Brams, your Chief Medical Officer, and how much you admire him and how this whole thing started. So great to have you on the air with us, finally.
It is great to be here.
I want to ask you, talk about how you brought up in the beginning. What made you think in terms of the frustration and such? Because what's the background to make you start thinking about that stuff?
Well, that's a great question. Hopefully I look younger than I am, but I've been doing research in ADHD since 1997.
Wow.
And back then we had kind of, sort of long-acting medications, but you had to take it 2 or 3 times a day. Lots of withdrawal if you just stop taking them. They're a little harsh. So we improved a little bit, but I've done every medication for ADHD on the market. I've been either an author on the journal articles, or I've done the research on them. And I said to myself, and I talked to Shane, I said, Shane, we still don't have one ADHD medication that really fills the medical needs, even though these are big companies that have a lot of money put into it. So being in the field for so long, 30-something years, and doing research, I kind of figured let's form our own company and really make a drug that's going to really be, it's going to catch on in the clinics. The doctors and the nurse practitioners that prescribe it are going to love this. And so we decided to say, what's a really good ADHD medication? And as he said, one that starts really quickly, one that is well tolerated, has very little withdrawal. If you can't come down off it, it's already got that booster built in. And who likes to put a Schedule II drug in your pocket walking around, especially if you're at school or something like that? So we have a built-in booster, which we're one of the first ones to do.
Is it Schedule II because, as you mentioned, it's a narcotic? The original, I forget, Ritalin was a narcotic. Was that the first one, or was there something else?
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Well, first of all,
Ritalin and amphetamine.
Yeah, it's not really a narcotic, right? It'd be like opioids and things like that, but it is a stimulant.
Stimulant.
And so it's a low schedule.
So what was
drug.
the first stimulant? Let's say in 1980 or something, or somebody said we should try this.
Methamphetamine.
Oh, no kidding.
Methamphetamine.
Was that what's used
20.
first?
Which is still used for ADHD.
Still used.
10 patients in the country.
In fact, if I want, after the show, we can prescribe meth. But we don't.
Wow.
Merry Christmas. Merry
You
Christmas.
could prescribe it and go to
you go to a pharmacy. It's Disoxin.
And then from there, it went to
Methamphetamine.
intent to where? To what?
Well, then you got the Ritalin, which is the person that discovered Ritalin. I think her niece was called Rita, so it's Ritalin.
Okay, right.
And so Ritalin was 1957, and it was 4 to 5 hour drug. Worked very well, but you had to take it 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a day. But it revolutionized the treatment for ADHD.
And then came the time release stuff.
Yeah,
the Concertas of the
Now
world.
you got to go all the way to the 1980s.
Yeah.
So mid 1980, they finally had a product called Ritalin SR, which didn't work at all.
SR meant for slow release?
Sustained release.
Sustained release.
And so in ADHD, you don't want sustained release. This basically gives you like a Volkswagen hump.
Right.
That doesn't work in ADHD. You need the drug levels to go up and down so that your brain can sort of reset throughout the day, and you need the medication has to start working quickly. It didn't have speed or duration. Then you go to the late 90s, and that's when you had Concerta, which was a methylphenidate product. You had Ritalin LA, and then you had Metadate CD and Adderall XR. We had to wait another 6 years then for Vyvanse to come out, which is a prodrug that gets metabolized into D-methylphenidate in about 2 hours, so not a very fast onset. Lasts only about 8 to 10 hours after that, so it gets you to about 2:30 in the afternoon. That was the whole problem. The drug didn't last long enough. So from there, that's where Dr. B, myself, and Dr. Silva said, let's fix this problem.
It seemed like a few guys were trying this. What made you guys think you could do it?
Well,
I mean, because look, with all the sustained release and everything else, I mean, somebody had something like that in the back of their mind.
Well, we were drinking beer.
This had been attempted.
Well,
but not well, in your opinion.
Not well, because what the drug companies, we're talking big companies with lots of backup.
I did it at Novartis, a multi-billion-dollar company. You had Johnson & Johnson, you had Shire, which is now Takeda, all mega billion-dollar companies. They didn't do it. Here's what we did. Not to jump forward, but we sat in our ivory towers at Novartis and J&J and those companies and said, here's how we're going to develop it. This is what we're going to do. Doctors are going to love it.
Yeah.
We started doing the research. We put it into the clinic. It was better than what we had before, but it still had all these other issues and problems. 2016, we brought out all of the experts from around the world to Kansas City, and we said, look, we're going to sit in this room for two days, and you're going to build us the best drugs. And if you've ever been in a room with psychiatrists, I mean, they get a little esoteric. They were going all over the place. Right. But we left that room saying, okay, we have to deliver D-methylphenidate. Number one, what's the asset? D-methylphenidate on the Ritalin side, D-amphetamine on the Adderall side. We're going to deliver it at time 0, time 3, time 7. That was a day in itself.
Yeah.
We're going to deliver it as a pulse, as a sustained release, and a pulse. That was actually pretty easy, surprisingly.
Okay.
But now we're going to deliver it in a 35-45-20 ratio.
What does that mean? Oh, I see.
So,
Okay.
so if you're given 10 milligrams, you get 3.5, 4.5,
Sure.
2. That was another day. But I mean, we all came to a sort of an agreement that that's the best way to treat ADHD. Then we got into the clinic. So we started with the experts, the people that have been treating ADHD for decades. Then we went to the clinic. We did the pharmacokinetics. We did the phase 3 study in adults, which I'd love for Matt to talk about. But I mean, everyone's like, whoa. You guys have put together a product with an effect size that is unprecedented. We've never seen a product perform this well to give you entire active-day efficacy.
Dr. Brams, when you were at that barbecue, that you thought to yourself, you realize we don't have this? Did you know it could be done? Did you just know in your heart of hearts that, look at
Yeah.
People, they're close, but did you have the secret sauce in your head at that point?
Yeah, we did. Dr. Raul Silva, who was the chief science officer, we said we could do this. But you're giving me too much credit. I didn't develop the PTR system. I knew what was needed. I knew what the pharmacokinetic graph should look like. That means how it goes in the bloodstream. So we found PTR in Scotland.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand them at first because they were speaking English in Scotland. But I did realize that they were able to come up with the technology to do this. And again, they drank as well. And not that we condone that. We do discourage drinking. But yes, it can be done. The problem is that the old companies, these monster dinosaur companies, just did 50%, because that's the way it was done for all this time. They weren't really experts in the field. They had a million different medications. We are, at first, ADHD experts, but now we're going to go to different things with our PTR. So yes, we knew it could be done.
I think what's interesting here is that what are you going to do when the black helicopters show up?
I was just about to ask that. I mean,
from the big pharma.
Are there vans driving by the?
When we come back, I want to talk about that the FDA arc of the story, and then of course partnerships. But I do want to talk about one thing also. ADHD folks are often bouncing off the walls, interrupting, lash out, and you're giving them a stimulant. You guys got to explain that when we come back to the break. Big Biz Show, bigbizshow.com. Stand by. We got the folks from Cingulate, CING. Dr. Matt Brams is with us, the Chief Medical Officer. Of course, Shane Schaffer, the Chairman and CEO. We got much more to come. Don't go anywhere.
In over 175 countries, all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network. A big old happy holidays to the men and women of our United States Armed Forces. Thank you for what you do for us. Inside the Loft 100 studios, Asta. Our executive producer is Greg Podorov, and of course we have Sully.
Mary Burt Godwin taking a couple days off for the holidays. Let's not forget BizTV, American Life Network, and Bloomberg also carrying the program on television. Thanks again to AFN. We've been AFN now for 22 years now.
Wow.
Big Biz Show, bigbizshow.com. Great to have you today. Okay, Shane Schaffer is the Chairman and CEO of Cingulate. You've had him on the air here before. You'll have him. It's turned into a public service. The network has asked us to do kind of a long form with him, and hopefully we can put that together in terms of a bizumentary. But in the meantime, we've got Shane here as Chairman and CEO, as well as Dr. Matt Brams, the Chief Medical Officer. It's really interesting hearing how the whole thing started from nothing.
From a barbecue,
yeah,
to where we are now. We were talking before the break, though, about ADHD people who have it, patients, and you're giving a stimulant. Do you also provide like a rubber wall or a tether or a treadmill for them to go on as well?
They got misnamed.
That's how we diagnose them, is we put them in a treadmill.
I mean, because it does seem like, didn't they used to call this hyperactivity disorder way back in the day?
Yeah. But it's a highly genetic disorder. So if someone has it, probably someone in the family has it.
But why stimulant?
Tell you why. Because what the deficit is when you have ADHD is you don't regulate dopamine. You all heard of dopamine?
Yeah. Sure. It's kind of the word of the week.
It's the great thing. Well, you love dopamine. But people in the front part of their brains, it's more complex than this, but the front part of the brain can't get enough dopamine to do what it needs to do because genetically you have vacuums that suck up dopamine when it needs to. It's hyper. It sucks up too much. Sure. You don't have enough dopamine. So what you do is, what dopamine does is it puts the brakes on so you can actually focus. It puts the brakes on your motor so you're not hyper.
Okay.
But if you have too little of it, you're going to be hyper and not focused. So if you give someone a stimulant, they're going to calm down, focus, and not be hyper. If I gave it to you, because you don't have ADHD, right? You might get hyper because you have too much.
Right, okay.
So we're replacing with a stimulant the dopamine that's a deficit in ADHD brains.
How close are we to submitting new drug application to FDA?
We are months away. So we're really excited as a company to get our first new drug application off to the agency. We're shooting we've talked a lot about mid-2025. So we're looking at July as when we'll get that thing submitted. We're only waiting on two things. So first, we are ready to report in a very expeditiously that our final clinical trial will be completed.
Oh, wow.
We'll be done. We'll be out of the clinic. All of our phase 3s are already done. This is just a food effect study. The final thing, too, is we're doing stability testing on all of our dosage strengths. So we have 8 dosage strengths, which is a huge clinical and commercial advantage. For the first time in the history of ADHD, coming out of the box, we'll be able to optimize every patient from 6 to 66.
Dang.
So be able to get all patients optimized on the product.
The financial runway to get to the next step.
Yep.
You guys are pretty well heeled, but are we always sort of raising money along the way here, or where are we at?
We're at a point.
Financial runway.
It's a great question. Right now, we don't have to raise money right now.
Wow.
So for the first time in our history as a public company, we're not needing to raise money. We have enough runway to get past our NDA submission. There's a very high likelihood we'll have enough capital to get us all the way to approval in the very near future. We're raising capital on a very opportunistic perspective. I mean, we're not looking at bad deals. We're not looking at warrants or any of the things that we've had to do in the past to survive. Well, now we've survived. Now let's thrive. So it's time for the stock to get moving in the right direction.
Sure.
A lot of milestones coming up.
Let me ask you guys about commercialization, because you guys both have experience in the companies that may be acquiring you, or at least this technology. Or are you guys thinking about taking this all the way to the end? Or do you think, are you bringing to the 5-yard line and then work on the next thing?
Yep, great question. So what we're looking to do at Cingulate is, number one, always be prepared to commercialize the product. And to do that, we've already executed a commercial marketing agreement with a company called Indegene. They're one of the biggest in the world. Basically, 19 of the top 20 global pharma companies already work with them. The reason we don't know about them is because when that rep or that medical liaison or that e-detail or that commercial marketing message goes out, it doesn't say Indegene, it says Pfizer, Novartis, Sanofi, Glaxo, Cingulate. That's what it says. And we use that, and we don't pay them a royalty. What we do is pay them on a fee-for-service basis. No. So instead of us building a $100 million commercial infrastructure, which is asinine, not doing that, I bolt on for the price of the ink in my pen.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a DocuSign, so it didn't cost anything. So, but I mean, that's how much more efficient it is. We're working with Indegene. We're building the commercial plan. At the same time.
No, wait. Let me say, the fact that they're working with you now, that's got to be a huge vote of confidence. That's got to be an opener indicator saying, okay, they wouldn't be going this far if they didn't have a hunch that this is going to be.
Right. They know that we have built the most innovative ADHD product in history. Okay. We did market research with payers. These are the people that don't like new drugs.
Yeah, right.
We did market research with them, and they came back and said, first of all, it's over 120 million lives covered, so basically 2/3 of the United States is what these people cover. They go, this is the most valuable ADHD product in history. That was number one. Number two, they go, we're going to reimburse this product because we want rebates, and by the way, it's a better product. Now, you asked the question, Sully, it's another good one, is what if a big pharma company comes along? My phone's always on me.
Yeah, right.
It's on silent now because we're on TV, but trust me, it's always on me.
But these commercials,
we'll take those calls.
At the same time you're with these, there's also a couple other prongs that are going at the same time with you, right?
So we are also talking to mid-sized pharma companies to potentially co-promote the asset, co-promote our other products. We're in a conversation right now for potential global licensing to one company of our entire portfolio of products. So that would be something that we'd be super excited about, but that would be a game changer for Cingulate. But we would keep it in the United States. Would you bring a lot of non-dilutive capital?
Would you guys ever focus on another drug?
Oh, absolutely. So we have two now. We have a third in anxiety. We have a fourth, most likely coming in the insomnia category. We're looking at a product in xerostomia. That's a dry mouth issue that almost every patient over 60 has to face. So we're looking at a lot of products. Every time we talk to a group of clinicians back when we were private, they'd go, hey, did you think about this? Did you think about this? And we have over 50 different potential medications that we know we can build, and it comes down to two factors. Number one, I want to solve major unmet medical needs, not just compliance. Compliance is important. I want to solve an unmet need and improve those outcomes. And second, it has to have at least $750 to $1 billion market potential.
Yeah. What's interesting here is that the ADHD market is not shrinking.
$22 billion in the U.S. alone.
Yeah, and it's mostly unaddressed properly.
Absolutely. About 70% of patients who take ADHD medicine have to take a booster in the afternoon. Ours is built in. You've got that market right there.
Will you guys promise to come back again?
Please.
It's always the best.
Always love it. Yeah, I love it.
Les Mary's ticks you missed this one.
Yeah.
Shane Schaffer, Chairman and CEO, Dr. Matthew Brams, Chief Medical Officer. The name of the company is Cingulate, C-I-N-G. Guys, thanks for coming in once again. I appreciate it.
Guys.
Big Biz Show. That does it for us.
Merry Christmas, everybody.